Hello and welcome to Low Vision Moments. It's the podcast all about those sometimes frustrating, potentially embarrassing, but often pretty comical things that happen when you are just going about your day with visual impairment, blindness, and in my case, albinism. I'm your host, I'm Jennie Bovard, and this is episode number 44. This time I have a returning guest making his fourth appearance on the show. He appeared in episodes 9, 21, and 31. No other guest has been on the podcast this many times. It's my husband. He is my one true love, and he is here for our annual check-in. His name is Yves Wermelinger. Welcome back to Low Vision Moments, my dear.
Thanks for having me back. It's fun to be on the show.
Did I say your last name correctly?
I think so.
You think so?
To the best of my knowledge, I believe that is how it's supposed to be said perfectly.
I've known you 20 years and I still guess whether I say your last name correctly. So I do hope that I've done it justice.
I've been trying to say it correctly for 40 years, and I'm pretty sure I don't.
Okay, perfect. So moving on, we love to make people sick with our love. And we do that, I'm pretty sure, in every check-in episode that we do. And there's going to be plenty of time for that. We're going to get into that and everyone can look forward to it. Get your barf bags ready. No, I'm just kidding. But first, my love, what do you want the people to know about you?
I am a bike mechanic by trade.
Bicycles. Let's be specific because people are always like, you work on motorcycles?
Motorcycles. Yes, I work on bicycles. I'm the lead mechanic on Blind Sports Nova Scotia's tandem bike organization, and I work on a lot of stuff with you on that part.
You're more than just a mechanic for the Blind Sports Nova Scotia tandem bikes. You're the lead volunteer pilot too. So you help do all of the pilot training, and you help do all the training really when we get everyone, both the pilot and the stoker. The stoker is the person on the back, generally with sight loss or blindness. And you help me get everyone up to speed on like all the best safety practices and best practices so that they have a good time. So I just wanted to toot your horn a little bit because you're more than you do more than fix bikes. But please go on. You're a bicycle mechanic, but there's more to you.
I'm a Taurus.
I didn't see that coming. Me too. We're both Taurus, and I've been
working out in the garden a lot lately with the weather. It's been wonderful. I have a nice fish pond that I've started to become addicted to with my fish, so that's pretty cool.
You've done a great job with the pond this year. It is such a nice little oasis in our backyard. We'll try to get a picture up, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have around the pond so it goes with the picture that we're going to share?
Well, there's a small water fountain, kind of waterfall kind of situation that I have there to circulate the water, and then there's
you built
a bunch
it up
of
with
lilies
rocks.
That and all the rocks that are around the pond are rocks that have been found in our yard because our yard is full of rocks. So every season we get more rocks from the permafrost. Hooray!
They rise
What a
up.
wonderful, bountiful harvest. And then we have a bunch of nice kind of flowers and small plants and stuff all around, and a gnome, and this really kick-ass lighthouse that my wife made for me.
I made it.
I hope we got a good picture of it there because it's a really cool thing that you made, and I love it because it's some flower pots stacked on top of one another, and you painted it up, and it looks great. So yeah, and there's some fish inside.
I'm loving the pond. I'm loving our garden this year. We have a really bountiful strawberry patch, and our other plants are coming up nicely. But enough about our backyard. Well, why don't we go chronological? Because we do this annually. It's been about a year since you were on the podcast. Let's do this chronologically. And I think chronologically, our first event since you were last here was the Creepy Mannequin. Do you recall the Creepy Mannequin? Let's dive right in here.
Okay, so the problem with the Creepy Mannequin is that there's more than one Creepy Mannequin. So I think chronologically, the first creepy mannequin is probably the one that we found on the street.
Oh, right. Yes, yes, yes. That's the one that I was thinking of. But I think I know I think I know the other creepy mannequin you're talking about too. Yes. Why don't you tell us about the first creepy mannequin?
So I think we might have been walking the dog and we are coming around the corner of the park, or we were just going to the mall. I'm not sure what was the reason for going on this.
It's on that route. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going around a kind of a tight turn and on a little trail, and then all of a sudden there's a person standing like almost at the very end of the trail. And they're just not moving, but they're kind of looking towards us.
They're like an adult-sized person too.
An adult-sized person wearing old-timey clothes.
At the end of the trail, where the
Yes.
trail meets the sidewalk, you're like exiting a park in this tight little trail. You're coming around a corner.
And they're just standing there for a while, and I'm thinking, well, that's kind of weird.
Absolutely still, right? And so me with my low vision, I'm just staring because
Yeah,
that's what you do is you try to fill in the blanks and decode it.
yeah. And I'm trying to figure out, like, why is this person just like hanging out here? Are they having a cigarette? Maybe. It's kind of a weird spot to be standing, chilling, having a cigarette. And then as we get closer, I realize like the legs aren't right. Like the bottom parts aren't what should the width of a bottom part. And then we realized that it was a mannequin on like a couple boxes wearing like a long dress.
It was dressed in some kind of traditional garb.
Yeah, like a Victorian era kind of dress or something. Like it had like a bustier.
I don't recall exactly how it was dressed, but it looked like something you would see in a like a religious setting. I don't know. It was really creepy.
And I think it was a little foggy, wasn't it?
And I think we have a picture of it, so we'll share the picture of it. And I think what was cool about that was that like neither of us knew what the hell was going on. So like I really thought I was having a moment, right? I thought I was like, okay, like it happens to me on the daily. I'm out and about, and I'm just like, what the hell is that over there? I can tell that that's is that a person? Is that a mailbox? Like, is that a lamppost? I don't know. I'm going to wave at it so that they think that I'm friendly. And so I'm approaching it thinking like, am I going to do a nod hello? I'm going to say like, what time of day is it? Am I going to say good afternoon, good morning? And then you swiftly inform me it's a mannequin. And we stood and stared at it for a bit because it was so strange.
It was kind of scary.
But what's stranger is there was
Well,
a second mannequin.
yeah. So that we have two good mannequin stories. And also, just to finish that first one, it's not like it was near Halloween.
No, no,
Like,
no.
just for context,
It
it
was still
wasn't,
summertime.
it was summertime at some
Yeah,
point. So just for that.
yeah.
And then, yeah, the second mannequin is potentially creepier because it was and is because we know.
Don't wait. Don't spoil. Don't tell them exactly what it was right away. We need to build this up a little bit. Okay. So you and I used to love going to the store Simon's, which is like it's like a clothing fashion store
When we would visit Montreal.
when I would visit Montreal.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, my life was made when Simon's opened up a store here in Halifax. Not only is it in Halifax, it is like a 5-minute walk from our house. So it's very dangerous. So you and I have frequented Simon's a number of times since it opened. I have a lot of clothes from there. My wardrobe is very Simon's, even before they came to town. But we were walking through there one day, and I don't even know how to explain it. You pulled me aside, and you were like, "Jen,
Look at this. Look at this mannequin.
look at this
It's
mannequin." And I was like, "What is it? What does he want?"
like, is this mannequin wearing something weird? Is it just like a funny shirt? I'm sick and tired of seeing Yves grab me to look at funny shirt slogans and stuff. I get it. I get it. But this one was special.
This mannequin look just like me, guys.
Just like you. It
And
was like they took a Jennie and made a mannequin.
it has my hair. Yeah, except it was wearing shorts like jean overalls. Not a look that I normally sport. But I identified with Elaine in that Seinfeld episode where she finds that mannequin that looks just like her. Now, this mannequin had my hair
Yeah.
perfectly, like pretty much how it is right now, shoulder
Same
length,
haircut.
parted on the side. Although it's also wearing a hat, this mannequin, which I'm always wearing a hat when I'm not at home. Anyway, our life is not all mannequins and
What?
and hanging out, walking our dog around our neighborhood. We did do a couple of exciting things last year, including we returned to Las Vegas. But before Las Vegas, didn't I pick out new glasses? If we're going chronological,
Yeah. So I think we went shopping for glasses.
and I'm not wearing said new glasses. Let me just be clear.
No, you haven't put those new glasses on at all yet, have you?
No, they're backup because when you need glasses to function in every sense of the word, you need a backup. And I've learned that the hard way. But that glasses shopping experience, there are a lot of things that we did that we normally do. I brought you along. Um, and we did a lot of the things that we normally do. When you're buying glasses and you can't see anything without your glasses, it's kind of a conundrum. It's kind of like, how do I know that they look decent? How do I pick out a pair of glasses when I can't see what I look like without my prescription in these glasses that I'm trying on to see if I want to buy them? It's such a conundrum. And I have to say that, you make my life easier in a lot of ways, but this is definitely one way that you are extremely helpful. Do you want to explain to the people how we do it?
Well, first of all, I just want to say the place that we go to has they're really nice there, and they turn off a lot of the lights for you, like behind the counter lights and stuff like that. I think that's really nice of them to accommodate that.
Yeah. Well, this time that was the first thing when we walked in. They had done some renovations. I keep going back to this place because there's such great customer service. They're so good at what they do, and they have like a really nice selection of glasses. It's not a massive selection, which is helpful for me because that can be so overwhelming. I find if you go to most optometrist offices, particularly like the big chain type stores, there's just so much selection. It's overwhelming. So anyway, I digress. We walked in and they had done some renovations since we were last in there, and it was very bright. And I was trying to look at glasses and realize that they had added lights all along the walls behind the glasses. So for most people, that's going to help them be able to see the frames better on the wall. For me, it meant I couldn't see a damn thing. All of the glasses looked black in color, first of all. They all just looked like black glasses behind bright light. So again, you're so extremely helpful. You're really good at saying, like, why don't you just ask them to turn them off? And of course, why don't I just think to ask if they can turn them off? Because in that moment, I was like really stressed. I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do here? But you're right. They were able to turn them off, no problem. But
Yeah, and they were really nice about that.
yeah, they were like, oh, no problem at all. And yeah, and so that just goes to show sometimes all you have to do is ask. And you've done that for me a number of times where you're like, why don't you just ask?
Yeah.
And it's no big
Or
deal.
I've asked like for you sometimes when you seem uncomfortable or something like that, which is very
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah, that's
Very rare are
true.
you made uncomfortable.
Well, it depends on the day, right? Depends on how the day's
Yeah.
going. You're like, I don't want to deal with any more things that are
Yeah.
extra work. But why don't you tell us how you help me pick out glasses? Because it's pretty ingenious.
I think a lot of people must be doing this nowadays. Like this, I can't be the first person to just take a ton of pictures of you wearing glasses that you don't own and then showing them to you saying, okay, what about these ones? Okay, what about these ones? Or from like, trying to take the picture from a slightly different angle. So maybe they look a little bit better, or you have a better idea of how they're going to look on the side and stuff like this. So I got like a bunch of essentially like mug shots of you from the slight angle and the front on wearing various glasses.
Right. So we go in and I say, "Ooh, I like the shape or look of those." I put them on. And it used to be when I was solo, I would and in the age of smartphones only, before then, it was just a gamble. It was you just have to friggin' trust the people around you. And you better hope that you can bring someone with you, because I remember, living in Toronto, I had like college friends, but I didn't trust anyone enough to bring them glasses shopping with me. I don't have really anybody that I could bring with me when I was I didn't have family around. So it's the age of smartphones. When that came around, I used to try and take my own photo, and taking a selfie, even with my prescription in, is like, it's not, it's, you just try your best. There's no framing it up. So you make it so much easier. I don't need to try and take my own photo and then put my prescription on and zoom in and do this and that. It's so much more efficient and such a more seamless, nice experience. With you there, you take a photo. And so I think what we have figured out is, like, we do a bunch. I try on a
Yeah.
bunch, you take a bunch of photos, and then we go and review them.
Yeah, that seems like, because then it's the less like downtime.
That's right. It's so much more efficient. You make my life so much easier.
Oh, stop that. You make my life easier.
See, we told you that it's like,
Ha 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 ha.
it's disgusting
Love.
in here. But let's get on to the more exciting stuff. I mentioned we went to Vegas
Yes.
last September, and that we returned to the place where we tied the knot, as they say. And that was the first time we had gone back since we got married. So it was really, really, really nice. I needed a vacation so bad. There was so much to do, and we had so much fun. Do you remember the Colossal slot machine that I never got to play? I think about that all the time.
We walk by that thing so
I
like,
know.
it wasn't like often, but there's a couple, I think, in a few different casinos, and every time we walk by, you're like, "Oh, look, it's the Colossal slot." And then we just
I
walk by,
know.
and I'm like, "Why aren't you playing the Colossal slot?"
But we were always on our way. We were always on our way somewhere, right? We did everything but gamble, pretty much. Like, there was very little slot machines or gambling going on, because there's so many other things to do in Las Vegas that don't involve gambling.
This time, I think I might have only gambled like $4.
And I was like, when I was in the washroom or something.
It was while you were like in the washroom, and I was just waiting outside, hoping to score a free drink from one of the the waitresses.
So the Colossal slot machine, let me explain, is a gigantic slot machine that is so low vision. It's enormous. It's like
It's like the back of a bus.
it's huge. It's the largest print anything I've ever seen, pretty much. Like, that's one of the reasons I don't play slot machines. I really can't. I really can't see them. I just push the button, and if I win, I get money, and then if I don't, whatever, right? I really can't tell what's going on much of the time. All these different themes that they have, don't make a difference for me. But we mentioned, we didn't really do any gambling per se, but we did do a couple of things that were like, is this going to be accessible? Is this going to be enjoyable? And those were a bit of a gamble in themselves. One of the things we did that was really cool was we went to, well, I think a highlight was the Punk Rock Museum.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And we got a tour.
A tour by the legendary East Bay Ray of the
East
Dead
Bay
Kennedys.
Ray. Yeah. And he
And
was a great tour guide.
what a wonderful tour guide. I think his grandchild was on the tour as well, something like that. Some of his family was there with him that day, or that tour that we had him. But he was such a nice guy, and he knew so much about just all the facets of especially the classic punk scene. When we went to that other part where it was like 2000, the year 2000 plus, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, "Well, there's some nice stuff up here, but I don't know anything about it.
This is here. The nice thing I think about, so I will say I have some feedback in terms of the accessibility of the Punk Rock Museum. And if you're someone who's a wheelchair user or you use a rollator, a mobility device to get around, you're probably set. I didn't do an audit per se, but it's quite accessible in that sense. Having a tour guide made the experience, I think, a lot more enjoyable for me than it would have been if you and I had just gone and walked around a museum. I love museums and I always have. And I use the tools that I have and I use the vision that I have to try and take in the experience. But when a museum doesn't have like an audio tour, that was missing. You know, if we could come into the Punk Rock Museum and when you walk into a room, if it could explain, here's Devo's friggin' hats and here's Agent Orange's amps. And if it could explain what's behind the glass and describe it and articulate what's written on the little cards with each exhibit, that would be awesome. So that would be my piece of feedback there. Otherwise, it was, I think, having the tour, that's a bonus in terms of accessibility. But that would be my feedback. That would be my feedback for that one.
I thought they did a really good job, so it was cool.
Do you remember the other one that was a gamble? We bought tickets and they weren't super cheap tickets. We went to Area 15, which is like a complex. It's like an indoor amusement park almost with a bunch of different attractions in it. There's a vintage arcade and bar. That was a lot of fun, and they had a lot of older games, which I can kind of enjoy and see to an extent. But then we bought tickets to one experience. Do you remember which one? And I was like, I don't know, but I'll try it because you got to try.
They had like a lot of different, I don't even know. Yeah. Exhibits, I guess would be it.
Experiences, like immersive experiences, exhibits.
Some of them were blacklight kind of, not just rooms, but blacklight kind of experiences. And we did this one where it was kind of like a kaleidoscope light room with sound, and they gave us these special filtered glasses that it bounced the light around, so it made everything really like starry and shimmery and stuff like that. It was crazy. Yeah,
it was trippy. It was psychedelic in nature. Yes. So it's like a light room. I don't recall exactly what it's called, but it's like a light room, and it's this big room, like you said, and it's
just mirrored.
Yeah.
And it's full of flashing LEDs.
And it's like wall to wall mirrors. It can be disorienting, but with my photophobia, my extreme light sensitivity because of albinism, I was not sure how this was going to go, but I really wanted to try it to see if I could enjoy it. And I think there's a time in my life where I would have been like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. Like, not even, we're not even trying that. Like whale watching, I turned that down some quick. But this was something that, reading the description, I was like, this sounds like a lot of fun. So we paid the fee. We went in, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's not, and we were in there for a number of minutes. We were in there a good 10, 15 minutes because it was always changing. The experience was always changing, the directions, and there were tones, right? There was sound to go along with it, which was like, I have to be honest, when I describe it to people, I'm just like, you never need to do drugs. Like, you never need to take any psychedelic anything. You just need to buy tickets to this show, and you will it's the same, I would imagine, is the same experience. And
I would think if you just bought all the tickets for all the shows at Area 15,
you never need to do drugs ever.
Easily, you'd experience it all, and the rest of the place is just crazy.
It's immersive too, right? It's such a weird experience. Some of the stuff, we went to Omega Mart, which is another part of Area 15,
and that was for me the big draw to go to Area 15, was to see this Omega Mart thing.
Yeah, we had seen it online ahead of time.
And it is like it starts off as a grocery store, and then you find some secret passages through like a freezer door or something, and then you're out in the Mojave Desert.
You crawl through secret doors, you find secret doors, there's little games all throughout the place. And another thing that we weren't sure about when we went to Omega Mart, again, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, and that those tickets were pricey for Omega Mart. They were the most expensive thing in that place. And so I was concerned again, like, am I going to get my money's worth with this experience? So again, it doesn't hurt to ask, do you have any concessions for people with disabilities, people who are blind or visually impaired? And they gave us a small concession on our ticket. It wasn't like a you get in free as my guide kind of thing. It was a smaller concession, but it was as I presented my CNIB card, it was a nice to have. It was nice to have just in case, because there were games and things that were like way beyond my visual capabilities. We did a few other things in Vegas. I was really keen to go to a show. Yeah. What were the highlights of that show for you?
A hilarious, I forget what it was called. It was called like Vegas a Review or something like that, right? And it was a timeline of Vegas musically from its like
And performance wise,
inception, yeah, and
yeah.
through performances of the various artists that made Vegas famous and popular and stuff like that. So you had stuff from the Rat Pack to Liberace and everyone in between, and it was really cool to see all the various kind of like the get-ups and the costumes, and they had those fangirls and stuff.
But the highlight, but
The
the highlight,
highlight.
what was the highlight not when the blind person in the audience missed the blind joke?
Do you want me to try to explain this joke?
I'm trying to lead you there, yeah.
Oh, lead me. So the Rat Pack, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, and Frank Sinatra, or actors playing these people, are out on stage having a drink, having a good time, singing a song. I forget what song it may have been. But at one point, Sammy Davis Jr.,
Who I did not know.
here's another fun fact from Eve. Sammy Davis Jr. had a glass eye.
Did not
Did
know.
not
I did
know.
not know.
And
Now I know.
during this whole play, he does some pantomime where he takes the eyeball out, puts it on the ground, grabs a fake golf club, and swings it, and then looks using said no eye hole to view his great shot.
The audience loses it. And I'm like, what the fuck is so funny? I'm like, oh, what did he hit? Oh, okay. Like, what's the big deal? Like, saw him swing something. What's so funny? They had to explain the whole thing.
Yeah, so yeah, I had to kind of explain that there was a bit going on there.
When the blind person misses the blind joke.
And then I think the same actor, yeah, it was the same actor. He came out as Sonny of Sonny and Cher,
Again, people were losing it.
and
And
everyone's
I was like,
laughing, and
what is so funny about Sonny and
and
Cher? Like, Sonny is notoriously short or shorter than Cher.
and in this case, they're both about the same height.
And so I was like, what's the big deal? He's kind of taller than he should be. Why is everyone laughing?
And the actor points at his arm, saying, "Oh, it must be because I'm so tall." But it's, I think, because the actor was black. So people thought that was pretty funny.
I had no idea. I couldn't tell he was black from where I was. There's a lot of
A lot of
lights.
lights. Yeah, it was a lot of lights. It was a good show. There was a lot going on.
So yeah, a couple of those went over my head, but otherwise, such a fun little show. And I think the other really cool thing was that it was in a smaller venue, so we were able to be closer to the stage without paying premium for really close seats, or like getting any accommodations ahead of time to ask for preferred seating. So I mean, that was just awesome. Now we're going to move on from Las Vegas. That was certainly a highlight, though. It was really nice to go back, and I look forward to going back again. But there was a little highlight for me at the end of our trip. So at the end, I think it was at the end of our trip, if I'm not mistaken. And this is how this is one of the things that happened that, some things happen and you're just like, you know what, that's my fucking person. Like that this okay, I married you for a reason. And it was when we were, is deplaning a word?
Yes.
Is that a word? Did I just make that
I
up?
believe that's the word.
So we were getting ready to deplane. The plane has landed. All the people who can't wait, they stand up, they start encroaching into the aisle so they can cut in front of as many people as possible. Whatever. I just wait my turn, and but you better not try to cut in front of me because I'm gonna stick my leg out. Anyway, deplaning is happening, and there's people, I think they're like a row behind us, a couple rows behind us.
They must have been a few rows behind us.
And they are so blatantly, obviously, dickishly cutting in front of people, making themselves a priority. They're pushing it. Maybe they have a flight to catch, but they're just being not nice. They're being rude and cutting in front of people and making it very obvious. So you and I were like, whatever, annoyed by it as we should be, because it's the end of our trip. We want to get off the plane. We want to go, get back to real life, I guess.
We want to go see our dog.
Yeah, we miss the dog, of course.
And the cat.
Oh yeah, we can't forget Kitty. If she hears us, she'll be like, what about me? So we're deplaning. These people are cutting in front of us. And as it turns out, they ended up being, of course, in front of us, even though they were seated behind us. They ended up being in front of us as we left like the gangway and entered the airport. And so we're like several feet into the airport by this point. And you lean over to me and say, do you remember what you said to me?
There's toilet paper stuck to that guy's shoe.
It was like
a long,
foot-long
piece of toilet paper that was just stuck to
One
their
of the
shoe.
people that had been cutting in front of everyone had a bunch of toilet paper stuck to their shoe. So satisfying. I'm so fucking glad you told me. It's fine. Your working eyes, they do help us a lot. They... One last one before we go. What have you got? It's probably the same one.
Okay, so first you got the barbecue that didn't work out properly because we were gonna grill something, and you said, "Oh, here, let's cut this up," and I got this big zucchini.
So you fire up the grill, you fire up the barbecue. I'm like, okay, let me run and get changed really quick, and then I'll get the stuff out, and we'll start barbecuing. You walk into the kitchen after I get changed and start getting the stuff out. And what did you tell me about my clothes?
Well, first, your shirt was inside out. Again. I'm sorry.
Shut up.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
not
don't
again.
Ruin your image, but again.
You know what's fucked up though is this one doesn't have a tag either, and that's often the problem. Is you're like, your shirt's inside out or your shirt's backwards. And it's because it doesn't have a tag. So it makes it harder. But this one has a seam down the back. So I know that that's the back. But that day, you come in the kitchen, my shirt's inside out. What else?
And then you're like, okay, let's get this cut up for the grill. And I'm like,
let me cut up this zucchini, like, this big honking zucchini that I bought by myself at the grocery store.
One of the biggest zucchinis I've ever seen.
I went to the grocery store alone that day. It was a big field cucumber. And so as you were telling me that, I was holding it and I started feeling the edges of what I thought was the zucchini. And I realized, oh shit, he's right. Yeah, because zucchini's got they've got like a little nubby. They've got like a little nubby on the end, and this did not have the nubby. I can't remember what we had instead, but we did not have zucchini that night.
There was no zucchini.
We didn't get as far as grilling the cucumber. Who knows? That could have been a happy mistake.
Oh, yeah,
Probably
maybe
not. Hot cucumber. Okay, my love. Thank you for doing this on your day off work. I really appreciate it. Full disclosure, he in the basement again, too, guys. maybe we'll go out to lunch today because it's your day off.
Ooh, we can go out to lunch. Yeah, that would be good. Could we call that a business expense?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. No problem. I love you.
I love you, babe.
Thank you so much for listening and watching. We really hope you enjoyed reliving our shared low vision moments of the past year just as much as we have. And we wonder, how do you and your significant other sort of fill in the blanks for one another in daily life? Do they even really love you if they don't tell you when a jerk has toilet paper stuck to their shoe? I want to hear from you. I'd love to hear your perspective. Get in touch by adding a comment on YouTube, or you can send an email to podcasts@ami.ca. You can even give us a call at 1-866-509-4545. Once more, the phone number is 1-866-509-4545. Make sure to mention low vision moments in your message, please, and thank you. You can come and follow me. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. I'm there under uberblonde4, UBERBLONDE, and the number 4. I'll see you there. And the following people have made this podcast possible. I will also be sending them the bill for lunch today, as previously mentioned. Mark Aflalo is our technical producer. Ryan Delahanty is podcast coordinator, and manager at AMI Audio is Andy Frank. Our theme song is by Out of Controller. And until next time, is my shirt on inside out?